Welcome to the Lighthouse Financial Advisors Money Over 50 podcast with Davison and Michael Hogue. This information is general in nature and does not take into account your objectives, financial situation or needs. Therefore, you should consider whether the information is appropriate for you and your personal circumstances. If you require personal advice, please contact Lighthouse Financial Advisors. Here are your hosts, Davison and Michael Hogue.
So today we're going to start a new series, basically, which is something that Michael has come up with, which is the top 5 reasons that retirement plans get derailed. So we'll go through each of these one at a time. So the first one today, Michael, if you'd like to give us a start there.
Thanks, Dallas. The first reason is that the budget as if retired is inaccurate. And what we do with our clients leading up to their retirement, and certainly when they first come to see us, we like to do a budget with them as if they were retired today. And there's certain things that you strip out from that budget compared to what their existing budget is.
Yeah. And so with this, like as you're saying, so it may not necessarily be an actual budget where you sit down and go through every line item, but so this is more around working out how much money they would spend if they were retired, what their income needs are.
That's correct. Look, it's really the first starting point, as you know, because it's different for everyone, and you really need to know what someone realistically would need to spend in retirement if they are retired today. And then you can work out the other variables. So the other variables are how many years away from their ideal retirement are they? You can apply likely indexation of rising costs to that budget, and you can get to a figure as to a ballpark range of where their retirement savings value needs to be sitting the day that they retire.
To fund that income.
What we find that one of the big pitfalls for people is that their budget as if they're retired is not only inaccurate for some people, it's grossly inaccurate.
Yep.
And it becomes a race to the bottom. So where they actually want to retire, you made a comment about this in another podcast that's useful to listen to as well, called How Much Will I Spend in Retirement? So your comment was that people have had a long day at work when they're doing the budget with us, or doing the budget on their own, they really want to retire. So they naturally shave those expenses and make them as low as possible in the hope that
means they can retire
early. Yeah. The problem with that, though, is that if you rely upon an inaccurate budget and you get to retirement and you've underestimated by $10,000 or $15,000 or $20,000 in that what you thought you would spend is far too low, and you actually need to spend another $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. The chances are that you've underdone what level of retirement savings you need to be retired at that point in time.
Yeah, and so there's a point that you've made before. There seems to be the same types of areas of people's expenses or budget that they have underdone, or they got their estimations wrong there, and so there's we see a fair bit of consistency across the same problem areas.
I find home maintenance is far too low, body maintenance is far too low, so that would be things like dental costs, or
medical expenses.
All of these things are things that you hope won't go wrong with you, but realistically, things do go wrong with your person, your body, your teeth, other parts. You need to spend money there. Home, definitely far too low. So, I get people estimating $1,000 a year for home maintenance now. That's probably the best year that you could ever hope for, to be $1,000. But when you factor in that split system air conditioning for your whole house costs somewhere in the vicinity of $12,000 to $15,000, and it only lasts 10 years to 12 years. You're looking at an annual cost of it.
Yeah.
Just replacing air conditioners will be $1,200. Painting, some of the painting quotes that I've seen inside and out for houses, up but around the $30,000 to $40,000.
Yeah.
So it's quite a big job. It's quite a costly job now. Yeah, that's every sort of 12 to 15 years. So if you're averaging out these costs, home maintenance is certainly a lot more than people actually.
And I think the same thing applies both for home maintenance and, as you said, body maintenance or your medical expenses. Is that what you tend to find is that people estimate a figure here that they kind of hope that will be, not what reality is, and so that no one wants to have to spend money on replacing air conditioners or repainting their house. No one wants to have to spend money on going to the dentist because those aren't fun things, and so you tend to find that people look, even if they have had a good year where they haven't had to have any of those costs, they look back and go, well, it'll be fine. I won't have any cost moving forward. So the important thing there, I think, is to be realistic about what are those costs likely to be over my 30 years in retirement. What is the average annual cost based on that? The second section, which you sort of started briefly touching on, which was the other problem areas are more of the fun stuff, and people underestimating that as well.
Entertainment's generally too low. Dining out is too low. I mean, I get budgets that come back that say we spend $100 a month on entertainment.
Yeah. And
then I say, okay, what did you do in the last week? Oh yeah, we had our friend's birthday. We all went out for dinner. How much did that cost? It cost $150 plus we bought him a present. Did you do that? Yeah. Oh, yeah, we had our grandson's or nephew's birthday party. We all went out for dinner for that, and so you go through it, and it's not $100 a month. It's more like $500 a month.
Yeah.
Realistically. And clothing. So I have people that come to see me. They're immaculately dressed all the time.
Yeah.
And they tell me they spend $300 a year on clothing. Now I know that not lying to me purposely.
Yeah.
But it's so far from being accurate. It's not funny. And when there's so many line items in a budget. So we have a budget template, and it has over 60 line items in there, and if you look at being inaccurate in even just a little bit inaccurate in all of those line items and underestimating, then it's really the sum of all parts means that you've grossly underestimated your budget.
Yeah, and that's I guess like you're saying, it's not necessarily that people are kidding themselves or kidding us about what those costs are. It's just about people don't realise the cost of being a little bit over in all of these different areas. It adds up to a significant amount every year.
So I guess there's a rule of thumb that you can use to add in some variances. So I like to add another line item which you would call money for things that break. Now that could be things on your house, things on your body, things on your car. Yeah. And generally if you made that 15% of the previous total, that's a workaround. So if your total budget, as if you're retired, comes to $55,000, if you multiply that by 15%, it's an extra $8,250. So you would add a new line item and budget for $8,250 for things that may break around the house, the vehicle, or your body. Over the year, you'd add another row called overflow for entertainment, dining out, clothing, travel, etc. And you'd make that 10% of the previous total. So if your total budget was $55,000, a workaround would be down to 10% variance there, which would be $5,500 per year.
Yep.
So your new budget now increases from $55,000 to $68,250. So you add $8,250 for things that would break, and $5,500 for overflow for entertainment, travel, dining out, clothing, etc. And you're now up around $68,250. I'd then say round up.
Yeah,
round up, not down.
Yeah.
Because it creates a variance. So you're up around $70,000 now. Coincidentally, that's actually the budget for the average of other people that are currently in retirement of our clients, we should point out. So we're in regional Queensland. It would probably be vastly different if you live in Sydney or Melbourne or somewhere like that. It'd be more than that.
Yeah.
But the average tends to be at around about $70,000.
Yeah, and that ties in, like you said previously, we discussed this, is that for most people, if and when you do a budget, their budgeted expenses is somewhere around that $60,000 per year. And then what we tend to find is that in retirement, at least once per year, something comes up and there's another $10,000 a year that's needed. And that's, I guess, the way that you've just done that is to allocate for that and just say, okay, well, there's a percentage there that we know that we don't know what that extra expense will be every year, but we do know that we tend to underestimate. That's what people tend to do, and so we just need to have an allocation for that and know that that's there if and when we need it.
And wrapping up, I'd say, knowing what income that you would require in retirement really is the first step to working out a financial plan for your retirement. So there's another really good podcast that we have that talks more about this called How Much Will I Spend in Retirement? And there's 3 ways that we go through to make an estimate. And be sure to listen to the other 4 top 5 reasons that retirement plans get derailed. Thanks.
Thank you for listening to the Money Over 50 podcast with Lighthouse Financial Advisors. We look forward to catching up again soon.